Record. All right. Believe that did the trick, and now we are in the recording mode. Welcome, welcome. Second session for me in a row. Just got wrapped up with my last exciting session talking about lease administration. And now we're going to get going with a PeopleSoft mobile expenses implementation that was done at Hackensack Meridian Health over in New Jersey. Pretty exciting topic for me. I love the solutions that we came up with, and the way that we were very creative in meeting the requirements that Hackensack Meridian Health had. And so I've got with me Gary Wilhelm, will be my co-presenter, and I'm going to get started with the slideshow deck. And I know Gary actually has competing meetings, so we're going to move quickly and try to get him as much airtime as we can before he potentially gets called away. So I'll introduce the two of us, or I'll introduce myself and have Gary introduce himself. He could talk about Hackensack Meridian Health and what they're all about. I will do the mini commercial on SpearMC, and then we will talk about the project and the outcomes of the mobile implementation of, or I should say, the implementation of mobile PeopleSoft Expenses at Hackensack Meridian Health. So, Gary.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. It's nice to speak to you today. I'm Gary Wilhelm, the Vice President of Business Application at Hackensack Meridian Health. And if you could go to the next slide.
The next slide's me, but I'll skip it.
All right, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'll skip it. Okay. And you can talk about Hackensack Meridian Health, Gary.
So Hackensack's a not-for-profit health network in New Jersey. We have 17 hospitals that are in the network, and they range from northern New Jersey all the way down to southern Jersey, close to Cape May, Atlantic City area. So we're over 100 miles apart from some of our hospitals, and we have open enrollment. Some of the things we have with PeopleSoft, we have PeopleSoft Campus, FSCM, and HCM running at HMH. We've enabled open enrollment for our HMH team members. We have leader self-service, employee self-service, to name a few, and then we allow team members to access the system remotely through dual authentication. Next slide, Ray. And this just gives you a little preview of, this is the map of New Jersey, and you can see, our hospital, our northernmost hospital is Pascagoula Valley Medical Center, our southernmost hospital is Southern Ocean, and we have, hospitals all on the northeast, central, and southeast seaboard of New Jersey. Next slide, Ray.
All right, I think those are yours. This is a slide that is a listing of all of the presentations that SpearMC is doing at the Reconnect session. I think there's 17 at last count. And we're thrilled to be here. We actually, our session was scheduled for 10:30 a.m. tomorrow, but we needed to move that to accommodate yet another conference. Gary, I think, is going or participating in the HIMSS conference. And so we were lucky enough to get a new time slot, and that's why we're here today. But it's a busy 3 days for us. We're thrilled to be back at Reconnect and doing this again, albeit virtual. We still love the participation, and it's been quite impressive to see the number of folks that joined. I will say there are 3 ways to communicate with us, which makes it hard to monitor. There are 2 chats. There's a chat in Pathable, and then there's a chat in just straight Zoom. And I'm trying to monitor those on my second screen. And then you can actually take yourself off mute if you choose to ask a question or say something. I will ask, if you have not checked, if you don't mind just making sure that you mute yourself now, you will be able to mute and unmute yourself throughout. And I encourage you to do that if you've got specific questions, okay? But if you could, go ahead and mute yourselves now and just unmute when you're ready to ask questions. All right, that's our SpearMC list of topics that we're covering. I literally was on a presentation just before this one and was competing with my colleague here, talking about Oracle guided learning. One of the favorites that I think we're really rolling into and deploying on a PeopleSoft platform. I pointed everyone to the fact that he is also, Cameron, doing a demo later in the week, and so they didn't need to quickly run away from my presentation if they were interested in Oracle guided learning. There was one they could attend as well. So I do want to highlight that, not that I want to overshadow any of these other fine sessions, but I think you should, if you get a chance, go check out Oracle guided learning and see what the future has in store. You saw the map of Hackensack Meridian Health. We don't have as many offices, but we have more continental time zones covered with our SpearMC locations. We're literally in all of the time zones in the continental United States. And we are a Gartner recognized organization for, well, because we have gone all in on PeopleSoft, and we excel at helping our customers take their PeopleSoft investment, maintain it, but move it to a data center, perhaps offsite. And in our case, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and Gartner has recognized us for our expertise in that particular area. In fact, we're the only PeopleSoft supplier that is recognized as an OCI Gartner recognized entity. 2 years in a row, we received that achievement. We're also SOC 2 Type 2 certified. This in another time used to be called, I think, the SAS 70 reviews for validation of internal controls and guidelines for organizations who might have your data at in their possession or access to your data. And so the SOC 2 Type 2 certification is a valuable tool for you as well as SpearMC when we do business together. You may wonder what industries we cover. And as I mentioned on this slide, our focus continues to be all in on PeopleSoft. And so you look at the industries here that we are focused on, these pillars have all gravitated towards PeopleSoft as their predominant ERP package. Service level organizations that are out there that have simply adopted the PeopleSoft ecosystem continue to do that, by the way. And so that's why these are the industries we serve, because right here in the middle of our services, it's all PeopleSoft. Our focus has been, we are the PeopleSoft expert. When we spawn off of that, it's because there's a PeopleSoft hook to the pillars, to managing services, to moving onto Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And now the latest, going with Oracle Guided Learning as your on-screen guided processing, really, and support for all things PeopleSoft. Right? Kibana analytics delivered free as a part of your PeopleSoft maintenance payments and licenses, and every image in every PeopleTools version that is rolling out, more and more delivered platforms that are out there, all because we focus on the PeopleSoft area. I'm going to move quickly because I want to get into the meat of our presentation, which is what prompted us to do a PeopleSoft mobile expense deployment at Hackensack Meridian Health. Well, part of what we wanted to do was migrate onto the Fluid platform to modernize PeopleSoft. That was a driving factor. wanted to be able to support a standard look and feel. So there was a desire to move all in on Fluid rather than support Classic and support Fluid all at once. And even pre-pandemic, remote access to systems was ever increasing, and access not just from a laptop, but from a tablet and from a phone. And these were all driving factors for why we wanted to deploy mobile, and then the module mobile expenses on top of that. Really, still about 3-4 years ago, there was it may be paperless is a term that's a bit unfair. We did have a lot of attachments and emails moving around for approvals and such, filling out expense reports for Microsoft Excel or on another tool, and trying to integrate. And yes, even printing and pushing for approvals was still happening. Strong desire to get out of that, and the ability to enhance the internal controls within the organization by requiring the pre-travel authorization. This was a critical piece that we felt was needed, to make sure that any expenditure incurred had previously gotten an approval, sort of like a purchase order for your expense trip, right? Okay, we knew that there was groups that needed to be trained, core users, people that were in PeopleSoft all the time, executives that needed to be just pointed to their information through dashboards, down to employees who used the system somewhat infrequently for self-service activities, and then even external and guest access, potentially for suppliers and customers to access PeopleSoft. We also knew there was this big change, and I think this is probably getting to be a little bit of a stale message. I hope most of you have started to make the move off of Classic and onto Fluid, but the breadcrumbs, they're gone. And so if I were to tell you what's your strategy for change management, it would be just be a benevolent dictator and get over it. That's how it's going to be, and people will learn how to use home pages, how to use tiles, how to use the nav collections. And so really we know it's change, but it doesn't limit the functionality that PeopleSoft delivers by changing the way you get to it. Again, we had the problem for remote access demands. Hackensack has been growing, and because of this growth, there was a strong need for standardization. No two organizations had the same dollar threshold for their approval levels, and we needed to streamline that and simplify that across the organization. And users wanted to be able to get to their key applications by their phone, on their phone. They wanted access anytime on any device. So how do we deal with providing mobile access without compromising on security? Well, PathLock now, Apsian is now PathLock. Before Apsian, it was, well, I'm not going to go down the history of that company. They've got a great security solution that actually works perfectly with two-factor authentication, and it folds into an authentication layer specifically when you're accessing PeopleSoft or anything within the PeopleSoft ecosystem outside the firewall, whether you're on a computer or your phone. Okay, and so with this as a solution, it didn't take long. We were able to get the prototype installed and running. Within a month, we were able to deploy certain dashboards, and way back pre-pandemic, we were rolling this out, and Hackensack received one of their many innovator awards at Open World 2018 and 2019. 2018 for the mobile access, 2019 for, among other things, the integrations that we built with Google Maps.
And Randy, I was to elaborate, but if you go back to that screen, the dual authentication just was to authenticate who the user was coming into the system. What PathLock provided, or Appian now PathLock provided, was the ability for us to not display administrative type access to the system. So if you're coming into the system and you have security administration rights, with Appian, we're actually blocking that and telling the user that you cannot use this functionality externally. You got to be a user that's internal to do security. So a developer that has access to security would not have that access when they came through leader self-service or employee self-service.
Yeah, one more thing we blocked was the ability to print anything from mobile access, and that was just it was too risky to allow folks to print something that might potentially have sensitive data, whether that's patient data or employee data from the PeopleSoft system. And so all external printing to a on-site Hackensack printer was disabled, similar to the features that Gary just described. All right, let's see how we've got that. Yeah, so this is what happens is when we log in and we're trying to get in from external sites, we are prompted. Okay, we're prompted with an Appian Duo challenge. The two-factor authentication. Oh gosh, I'm saying Duo. Am I right, Gary? Is it Duo? I think it's Duo.
Yeah, that's Duo. I'm sorry, that screen was.
Yeah.
So that's Duo mobile screen, and what you're seeing on the left is the Duo desktop screen there.
Right. So you try to connect. It says, how do you want to be authenticated? You can have a passcode saved and use that. You can have it call you or send me a push, which is what happened here. Duo installed on a mobile device. We simply approve, yes, it's me who's trying to access the system, and limited access is granted. Okay. Worked great. All different ways. These are actually the bolt-on pages that you get when you install Appian, and how you can lock down your IP addresses and ranges, what types of activities. We can log down to if you click on, if you hide your social security number, let's say, or your bank account number, and you click on it to display, we log that. We log who's displaying these hidden fields. If you decide you need to change your bank account, that gets logged as a separate event for audit purposes. Let's see, here's your activity log, the firewall action. We're triggering Duo two-factor challenge anytime we're outside our firewall. And that's true, again, whether you are connecting with a home PC, a tablet, a cell phone, whatever you've got, and you're connecting, you're outside the firewall, you're going to be challenged with that two-factor authentication. The next thing,
not to progress into HCM, but also once you're in HCM, if you need to make a change to direct deposit, we actually do a Duo challenge if the team member is looking to come in to change their direct deposit. So we're just double checking to make sure that the team member coming in is actually the team member that's asking for the direct deposit change.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Gary. That is that done inside and outside, or is that just
both
outside?
Inside and outside? If you try to change your direct deposit, you will be challenged to confirm that you are the user who's actually asking for that change to happen.
I appreciate you reminding me of that. So that was the first one I remember you deploying for. It didn't matter where you were inside. It didn't matter that you had already logged on with your password. When you changed that type of sensitive data, we're still going to challenge to make sure you're still who you say you are.
You
And
know, I
so,
mean, if you're in an office environment, you walk away from your desk and
somebody else,
actually
yeah.
you unlock what you shouldn't be doing. But if someone steps in and tries to change your direct deposit, they will get challenged at that point. And if it's not the individual who's looking to change it, the team member whose account information it is would get notified right away that there's someone looking to access their direct deposit information.
There you go. If anyone was on the earlier keynotes, you might have heard Gary ask Paco a question about integration with Google. There's not a whole lot of delivered integrations between Oracle and Google for maybe obvious reasons, I don't know. But I was really happy to hear you ask that, and interested to hear Paco's answer. The point I'm about to make is there is no delivered integration with one of the most useful features out there, which is Google Maps. What we had hoped to do was use the delivered Oracle Maps feature to type in a starting point address and an ending point address and calculate the GPS mileage. What turned out to be the case was it was not very functional, unfortunately. We were disappointed in the current state. I have not evaluated any of the changes, if any, that have been made. So I'm not here to give you counsel on the current state of Oracle Maps. But what I can tell you is Google Maps is it is a preferred tool for most map generating systems. As such, it has a terrific API that you can tap into. You need an enterprise Google account, and then you can build in the APIs that will call the GPS distance for you. So you type your beginning address, your ending address, you click calculate my GPS distance, and there it is, calculated for you based on the point A and point B. We love it. Oh, I even love it so much I expanded the screen. I'm so proud of it. What else did we do with? There were several things. I don't have slides on everything, but I wish I did. This travel authorization, it is now a requirement. So some pretty cool things there. One of the goals was to make sure that there was pre-approval for travel that would incur hotel, car rental, or airfare, any one of those three, and likely all of those three.
Randy, that was actually a paper. It was a paper form.
This was paper, wasn't it? Yes.
Trying to, if you're in the finance department, you may have offices in multiple locations at different hospitals, and then that form would have to be sent, either faxed or copied and sent an email. At least with this travel authorization form we created in PeopleSoft, you could access this anytime, anywhere. You could be home and access this and create the travel authorization, and you're guaranteed to have the latest version. In some cases, some folks had the older version of a travel form or an outdated version. This online travel form just made it easier that we had the travel form in one place, and then the travel authorization that was stored in PeopleSoft, we can actually do checks comparing the travel authorization form to the expense report that's submitted.
So, and I see there's questions popping in the chat. I'm gonna get to those in a second. More on travel authorization. There's a travel partner that Hackensack uses to actually book the airfare and book the hotel, which is paid for centrally. And so what we did through this process, we have the approval workflow flowing for all travel requests. Once approved, we have that approved travel request automatically emailed to the travel partner, who then books the travel for the traveler and then confirms that that travel authorization is complete and they're ready to go. At that point, when they travel, the user copies it in to their expense report, their travel authorization, and they reconcile the transactions. If they have airfare, hotel, or car rental, and they did not have a pre-travel authorization, we have a different workflow that goes up to the departmental vice president, I believe. Or is it director, Gary? I can't remember, but it's a pretty harsh approval path for those that are offending the process, the business policy where a travel authorization is required. So we still allow it to be passed through and create an expense report, but we do make it punitive by elevating the approval levels to pretty significant C levels that are seeing what you've done. Love that process. Maybe it's a tad unfair, but you know what? We adhere to the policy. The other thing that we did was we built training videos and attached them through a navigation collection that are essentially MP4 recordings that were built in a tool called Adobe Captivate. Those of you that use UPK might, well, when I started my presentation, I talked about Cameron's OGL, Oracle Guided Learning. We think that's the way of the future. Adobe Captivate was great. UPK is deprecated and will not be offered, not be supported. And so we were not able to do a full fluid end-to-end with UPK. And that's why we chose to do an Adobe Captivate. And we had a set of recordings that were done for the key transactions that you would be doing as an expense user, travel requester, or an approver. And so those were all cobbled together in a navigation collection that you then could just go out and play the recording and watch it play. I think I have one actually on this screen. I'm gonna hit play, but I'm gonna make it go kind of fast, right? So it's literally just taking you through the process of what do you do to create an expense report. In this case, we're actually copying an expense report from one that was already built. So that we can fast track it and enter what's different on that. I take a picture of it. In this case, we were on a PC, so we just uploaded a copy of the receipt. There it goes, done. I can review it. And before I'm done, I swear that this is me, and then we're done. All of those were pulled together in the recordings for each of the key business processes. So that was done through Adobe Captivate. Yeah, Gary, was that you?
Oh, no, that was not me.
Not you. Okay. Twilio text feature, we evaluated it. Since we were going to allow users to be connected to PeopleSoft Expenses live, we didn't find a need for the Twilio text feature. So what Twilio does is it allows you to take a picture with your phone of a receipt and text it. You have an account with Twilio that matches your cell phone number with your user ID in PeopleSoft, so that the next time you log on to PeopleSoft, in your wallet, you would have that receipt waiting to be applied to an expense report. You would do this if you did not want users to create expense reports using their phone, but wanted to get the ability to at least capture receipts and get them into their wallet so that they can apply them later. Oracle Maps, we evaluated it. It didn't meet our needs. We did roll this out in waves. It was before the pandemic, there was still travel going on. And so we focused on areas of the organization that tended to have more travel than not. We think it was appropriate in the number of folks that were going to be using the system to phase it in by essentially by department, by group. And then we talked about the recordings and the MP4s that worked well. There were some guided learning features in Adobe Captivate, but they're a little restrictive, and so we chose just the MP4s. And then this was after I was done with the project. They built dashboards to track user adoption, how many folks were actually reviewing those recordings and how many were using the PeopleSoft expense system, how many were doing it just for mileage versus actual hotel airfare. And they continue to track that as well. The ROI was the PeopleSoft investment. The integration was complete, and the per expense report price was a fraction of what was being paid for the tools that they were using previously. I've got some questions, and I'm going to pause and I'm going to look through them. Gary, looks like maybe you're answering some of these in the chat. Is that accurate? I lost Gary. Yeah, so what, let me just go through these. You change the direct deposit. So they do it in HCM and it rolls forward and integrates the user from HCM. By the way, this was a bit of a problem for us. So here was the question. Let me reread it. Do you only change the direct deposit in HCM, not in expenses? And the answer is yes. So for most expense users, they come over with the integration from HCM, including their direct deposit account. However, not all expense users were employees. Okay, there were some. I think Gary mentioned they're a teaching hospital, so they have students, and some of the students had expenses, but weren't employees. Some of the physicians had expenses, but weren't employees of Hackensack, and board members had expenses. They weren't employees of Hackensack, and so we had to do a bit of a hybrid and allow the ability to set up non-HCM users as expense users. And for those users, they were reimbursed through AP. This was another customization. If you looked at PeopleSoft Expenses, it's an installation option setting. You either pay via AP or you pay via payroll. You don't get to choose between the two. It's one or the other. And so we customized, if the user was HCM, they got paid through payroll. If they were non-HCM, then we paid them through AP. And so that's a long roundabout way of answering your question, Susan. Most users update their direct deposit in HCM, and then those that aren't are being set up and managed by expense administrators at Hackensack. So no, we didn't do anything to validate the addresses that were entered by the users. But what we do have is a cheat list. So for every office location that Hackensack has, I don't know if you saw this on the screen, but there's a lookup. There's a lookup on the address, and if you're typing an actual Hackensack location, it auto fills it for you. Okay, so but it does not do that if I'm, say, traveling from my home to the airport parking, remote parking. There's no validation there. We do have the ability to generate, and I'll show you if I get a chance, in something that we've done for another customer, the ability to actually generate the map so that you can see the actual path that was taken. But no real validation if it's not an office location within the Hackensack domain. Oh, I'm reading the wrong thing. We changed direct deposit of HCM. Oh, Gary already answered that. My goodness. And then we said, great, thank you. PeopleSoft Associating One Trail. Yeah, so it can be problematic when you have only one. You copy it in from the travel authorization. So if you have more than one, you might have more than one row of the same type of expense. Let's see. Yeah, one travel form per trip, and it really is, we were submitting an expense report per trip. All right, I can't remember what other slides I have, but I feel like there are more. Oh, no, there's not. Here's your questions. So I've got great questions. One in the other chat, I have implemented this Google REST API expense distance. The distance will not be calculated at an instance. We have to trigger 3 to 5 times. Oh, goodness. We have not had that problem, Mishi. I'm wondering what is going on with the setup. We get the same results each time it's triggered. So we'll have to take a look at how your settings are. I'm not sure how that worked. I do, if you're interested, let's see, how much time do I still have 40 minutes. I have an opportunity to do a demo, not from Hackensack, but from another client where we've implemented the very same thing. If you'll indulge me, Gary, can you confirm, are we seeing my Internet Explorer,
Yeah, I'm seeing your Internet Explorer and your login page.
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and go in. This is a customer of ours, Parkview, who has done the same type of thing with their Google Maps integration. We are having some maintenance done to the servers yesterday and today, so bear with me if we run into unexpected problems. I'm going to create an expense report. We limited the number of choices here. It was just, there was not the value that we thought in having different business purposes. So we shrank it back down to a manageable list. When you see those on a phone and you hit the scroll bar, you start to lose folks' attention. It's amazing what's happened with phones. Okay, I'm going to add an expense line. Okay, so we're going to pick mileage as our expense type. I think we call it this personal auto miles. I should have pointed out, notice things change, right? This list didn't exist before I typed this. I'm gonna say airport commute. Gary, you might want to watch this because we've made some enhancements to what you guys have now. Okay, notice I said the word round trip. I'm going to put my starting point and my ending point. And then I have this feature save as. So if I do this trip frequently, I can save my trips and simply pick it from my list of favorites the next time I want to travel round trip between point A and B. I maybe go to the airport quite frequently, so I'm going to add that as a favorite. But I'll just do, you're going to know where I live. And I'm going to go. Okay, Chicago here, remote parking. I could say this is an airport trip and save it. I'm not going to do that. Is this a round trip? Yes, no. Okay. I'm going to calculate the distance before I say yes. My calculated GPS distance, 23.9 calculated miles. Round trip should be double that. Okay. What does the map look like? What does it show me? There's my path. Okay. This should default. Make sure we do that for whoever this test user is. And there we have it. That's the Google Maps integration. We have just updated the approval page so that the approver sees these same things, the starting point, the ending point, whether it's round trip or not, the miles calculated, and we give them a little button that they can click if they want to see the map to help validate the trip that they took is appropriate. Okay. Save and, well, what did I do? Oh, no. I'm supposed to have this set, so excuse me, it doesn't require, it should not require a receipt. Sorry about that, folks. Little snafu. And then I can review and submit. And off it goes for my approval. I think I'll stop with the demo and go back to my presentation. Don't shut my, okay. And back to any questions. Yeah, somebody found the same issue we have, which is if you have multiple stops, or if you have, even if you have multiple stops, 10 is the maximum that you can do with the Google API. We chose not to have multiple stops, but rather just create different lines if you're doing multiple rows. But we also found that the vast majority of folks that had multiple legs were really just accounting for their round trip. And so by putting the round trip indicator in, we satisfied the vast majority of expense users who were having to enter, each trip as a separate. In fact, it was coming up as a potential duplicate with a warning, because it was the exact same number of miles done on the same day. So that's what we've done to address it. We may, after a year or so, and get feedback from the users, determine if it's not appropriate, then we can look at doing multiple stops. There is a group at Parkview that does home health care, and they have their own system, and we just do a component interface upload for all of their monthly activity for two reasons. One, having all of those addresses and all of those stops that they do in the day of their home health visits really felt like that might be a breach of personal health information. With all of those addresses in PeopleSoft, the tool that they're using was already qualified to contain and maintain those patients' addresses. And so we continue to use that. And then at the end of the month, we simply upload the total amount of miles that were driven as a separate expense type in a component interface. So those get loaded actually as fully approved and ready to go for payment. We also built, you saw with what was done at Hackensack, you could type the office, you could begin typing it. Well, you didn't see it, but I told you about it. It would pre-populate based on the addresses that exist within the Hackensack office locations. At Parkview, we built an expense type called office to office, which is a predetermined rate that you get no matter what route you take. If you're going from office A to office B, there's a matrix, and that too has a round trip indicator. So you pick which point is which office, and it's the list of 72 or whatever options, and then the other one, there's a table in the background that has the predetermined distance and allowable reimbursement, and whether or not it's round trip. And so they actually don't use the Google map for traveling office to office at Parkview. They use the office to office expense type. Yeah, a lot. So the questions are slowing down. Not sure if there are more. Oh, hey, Joe. Okay, go. How are you? We got to get you this thing going. All of you. I shouldn't pick a favorite. By the way, you're allowed to take yourself off mute. Or do you know that? I say.
I do now.
Yeah, go for it, Susan.
This is Susan. Hi, Randall. I'm sorry, we just went with a soft go live for expenses.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's soft, but it's good. And the Google Maps is what our biggest thing is we're trying to resolve, because I think you nailed something for us. We found the 10 stop limitation on the display, but we know we can get 20 addresses in if we keep saving, but it just won't display. But
Yeah.
you brought up a point about the patient address there. So now the light bulb went off and I have to do some follow-up on that. But I think we're in a good place with it. But what I'm hoping for, if we have more answers, can I reach out to you?
Please.
Questions.
My contact information is in the file that's attached. If you go to the meeting session, the files out there, this presentation is out there with my contact information. You have a green light contact.
Good. I think Marcus gave me your information before, and I can research it. I apologize.
Did you say Marcus?
Yeah.
Yes. Marcus, the CEO of SpearMC, will give my number to anyone who asks.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because he told me a few times to reach out to you.
I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did.
Okay, and I don't want to monopolize your time, but can we circle back to the board members and non-employees being added in?
So that was a big customization. It was big.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, but we pulled it off. And now we run the pay cycle and it goes to payroll if you are an employee and AP if you're not.
Okay, so we did the design where everybody goes to AP and we just use the information on the records that come from HCM.
I don't mind
that. I wish I knew that. We should have talked to you before.
I have been counseling customers that AP is the path of least resistance, particularly if you have reimbursements for non-HR. But I will say we do still integrate through HCM so that direct deposit information is updated only in HCM. Unless you don't have an HCM account, and then you would be what's known as a non-employee user at Parkview.
Now, did you have to, when you did the changes, because I know it uses the TNA will use the records from HCM on the expense sheet, on the personal data.
Yes.
But so when you did that, did you have to do a customization for the non-employees because the code wouldn't know where to look? Is that a true statement?
You have to, there's nothing you can do with non-employees other than manually maintain them in expenses.
That's what I needed to find out. So you can manually, because everything's flowing through HCM, but for non-employees, you'd manually.
You're gonna need an expense administrator, and ideally you're segregating the ability to maintain user accounts just with one person.
Gotcha. Nope, totally got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, now that we've broken the sound barrier with guest voices, nobody has an excuse to stay quiet. There's not many left on the call. Well, we have 10 minutes. Do we end early and go to dinner? I should have had a poll out there to see what people wanted to do. Okay, gang, I think we are out of questions, but as we mentioned, as I promised Susan, my information is out there. I want you to contact me any chance you get, and I will certainly answer. And I will also try to connect you with the folks that were represented today at Parkview and at Hackensack and SpearMC. We'd love to hear from you. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that concludes this session. Make sure to go out and fill out an evaluation form and let me know what you think.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Thanks, Gary.
Hey, Randy, sorry about that.
No. Yeah, it was good. I like the tag team.
Yeah, I was trying to answer questions I saw them popping up on the screen.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was very helpful.
Yeah.
But I thought it played well. So,
It's perfect.
all right,
So
man.
it worked out. It went very well. So thank you.
Yeah, I thought so too. Now I got it. Now I got to get you to put on these latest enhancements to Google Maps with the round trip indicator.
We didn't see the Kowalski when he was looking with me. He was messaging me. We're seeing team members putting in 16 to 26 round trips. We weren't seeing a limitation there.
Well, there's no limitation if you do it in multiple lines, multiple rows. That's not a problem. Yeah. But what you have to do is with the round trip, you literally have to put each trip as a separate point A, point B. And yeah, but do you have do you have the ability to insert like a third and a fourth and a fifth stop all in one request?
We'll double check with Kowalski. That's good questions that were coming up, and then
Yeah.
I answered the one.
So Gary, the limitation isn't the ability for Google to calculate the distances. It can't print a map if there's more than 10.
Oh, okay. We can't print a map. Okay.
Yeah, you can't generate the map if there's more than 10.
No. Were we generating the map? Or maybe not everybody was generating. They were just
You
putting
never
in
got to that point. Yeah.
So they were going as far as generating a map.
Yeah, everybody at Parkview, there's a button and you just click generate map and boom, there it is. And the approvers get to do the same thing so they can see if
Is that something delivered, or you guys added that as a?
We did it as a part of the Google API call. So it was a small customization to get the link on the page so we could trigger it. But it's the same API that you guys are already using to calculate the distance.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Because we're not generating the map at all. We're just saying here's segment A to segment B.
Yep.
I mean, did all the questions get answered? I'm sorry, I had to jump off. I was listening to 2 calls.
You know what? You already told me you were going to have to do it. Yeah, I think well, first of all, you answered most of them in the chat, which was appreciated. But yeah, I think so. I think they did.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped into the direct deposit, but
it's all right. I'm glad you did. That's
still
why.
recording.